Dr. Amy Carter pressed her face against the observation window of the research vessel Stellar Dawn. The stars looked different here in the Kepler 442 system. Everything felt different. This was humanity's first real chance to meet other intelligent life, and Amy could barely contain her excitement. She had spent 15 years studying alien biology from fragments and signals. Now she might actually meet living aliens face to face. Captain Lisa Morgan walked up behind her. Lisa was a tough woman who had served in 3 different space conflicts. But even she seemed nervous about this mission. The communications they had received from this system were confusing. 2 different species were sending messages, and neither seemed to like the other very much. "Any word from the aliens yet?" Amy asked. Lisa shook her head. "Both groups want to meet with us, but they keep warning us about each other. The ones who call themselves Velnari say the others are dangerous killers. The Zethkari say the Velnari are weak liars who cannot be trusted." Amy sighed. Maybe they're both right about each other. The ship's communication system crackled to life. Communications Officer Megan Stone's voice came through clearly. "Captain, we're getting incoming ships, 2 different groups approaching from opposite directions." Lisa hurried to the bridge with Amy close behind. The main screen showed 2 very different fleets heading toward them. One group had ships that looked like they were made of crystal and light. They moved smoothly through space like dancers. The other fleet had dark, angular ships with sharp edges and weapon ports that glowed red. "The crystal ships are sending a message," Megan reported. She activated the main screen and a figure appeared that made Amy gasp. The alien looked almost human, but more beautiful than any human Amy had ever seen. She had long silver hair and pale blue skin that seemed to glow softly. Her ears were pointed like an elf from old Earth stories. When she spoke, her voice was musical and pleasant. "Greetings, humans of Earth. I am Silandra of the Velnari Council. We welcome you to our system with great joy. We have much to share with a species that has achieved space travel through wisdom and peace. But we must warn you about the Zethkari. They are a violent race that knows only war and conquest. They will try to deceive you with false promises." Before Lisa could respond, another transmission came through. This time, the alien was completely different. It looked like a large lizard that walked on 2 legs. Its skin was dark green with red markings, and its eyes glowed yellow. Sharp teeth filled its mouth, and its voice was deep and rough. "Human ship, this is war leader Krixtal of the Zethkari Empire. We respect strength and honor in battle. The Velnari are weak creatures who hide behind pretty words and tricks. They fear us because we speak truth with action, not lies with songs. If you are truly strong, you will join us and help rid this system of their poison." Amy looked at Lisa with wide eyes. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. Both aliens seemed convinced that the other was evil, and both wanted humanity to pick a side immediately. Lisa activated the communication system. "This is Captain Lisa Morgan of the human vessel Stellar Dawn. We come in peace and hope to establish friendly relations with all species in this system. We do not wish to take sides in your conflict." Silandra's image reappeared. "Noble humans, there can be no neutrality when evil threatens innocent lives. Even now, Zethkari raiders attack our civilian transports. They kill our children and elderly without mercy. Surely a species that values life cannot stand by and watch such cruelty." Krixtal's voice boomed through the speakers. "The Velnari speak of innocence, while they poison our worlds with their mind-controlled technology. They make our young forget their warrior heritage and turn them into weak servants. They are the true enemy of all free peoples." Before Lisa could respond again, alarms started blaring throughout the ship. Marine Sergeant Katie Brooks rushed onto the bridge, still putting on her combat gear. "Captain, sensors are picking up weapons fire about 20 kilometers away. Looks like one of those crystal ships is under attack." On the main screen, they could see flashes of light in the distance. A Velnari transport ship was being chased by 3 smaller Zethkari fighters. The transport was trying to flee, but it was clearly damaged and slowing down. "They're going to destroy that ship," Amy said quietly. Lisa gripped the arms of her chair. "This is exactly what we didn't want to happen. If we help one side, the other will see us as enemies." Katie stepped forward. "Captain, that transport..." Ship has life signs. If we don't do something, those people are going to die. People? Lisa asked. Whatever they are, they're alive, and they're in trouble, Katie replied firmly. Amy watched the screen as the Zethkari fighters closed in on the damaged transport. She could see escape pods launching from the Velnari ship, but the fighters were shooting at those too. Her scientific mind told her to stay neutral and observe, but her human heart was screaming at her to do something. Lisa made her decision. Katie, take your squad and prepare a rescue shuttle. We're going to pick up survivors. But Captain, Megan protested, both alien fleets will see that as taking sides. Then they'll both learn something about humans today, Lisa said grimly. We don't let people die just because it's convenient. Katie grinned and headed for the shuttle bay. Amy felt a strange mix of pride and worry as she watched the sergeant go. Humans were about to make their first real impression on alien civilizations, and it was going to be complicated. On the screen, the Velnari transport finally exploded in a ball of fire. The Zethkari fighters circled the debris field, hunting for escape pods like sharks smelling blood. In the distance, both alien fleets began moving toward the stellar dawn. Amy realized that everything was about to change, and she had no idea if it would be for better or worse. Katie Brooks piloted the rescue shuttle through the debris field with steady hands. The twisted metal from the destroyed Velnari transport floated around them like deadly confetti. Her squad of 4 Marines scanned for life signs while keeping watch for the Zethkari fighters that had caused this mess. Got 2 life pods over there, called Marine Amy Davis, pointing toward a cluster of wreckage. Both showing life signs, but one is badly damaged. Katie changed course toward the pods. Through the shuttle's front window, she could see one pod. Was indeed cracked open, its occupant floating in a thin emergency suit that wouldn't last much longer. The other pod looked intact but wasn't moving. Grab the floating one first, Katie ordered. That suit won't hold much longer. As they pulled the first survivor aboard, Katie got her first close look at a Velnari. It was a female, even more delicate and beautiful than Silandra had appeared on the screen. Her silver hair floated around her pale face, and even unconscious, she seemed to glow with a soft inner light. She was small, maybe 5 feet tall, with the build of a dancer. She's alive, but barely, reported medic Lisa Chen as she checked the alien's vital signs. Some kind of internal injury, probably from the pod breach. Katie felt something strange twist in her chest as she looked at the injured alien. The Velnari looked so fragile, so helpless. Every protective instinct Katie had developed during her 10 years as a Marine was suddenly screaming at her to keep this creature safe. They pulled the second pod aboard and cracked it open to reveal another female. Velnari, this one conscious but clearly in shock. She had dark blue hair instead of silver, and her eyes were wide with terror as she stared at the human faces surrounding her. It's okay, Katie said gently, raising her hands to show she meant no harm. We're here to help. The conscious Velnari spoke in her musical language, and the shuttle's translator struggled to keep up. You are the humans? But why do you aid us? The Zethkari will see this as choosing sides in our war. Before Katie could answer, her communication system crackled. Human shuttle. This is Zethkari Fighter Squadron 7. You are interfering with legitimate combat operations. Withdraw immediately or be considered hostile. Katie looked at her squad. They all had the same expression she knew was on her own face. Nobody was telling them to abandon helpless survivors, especially not the ones who had just been shooting at those survivors. Tell them we're conducting a rescue operation, Katie replied into her comm. We're not taking sides, just saving lives. The response came back quickly and wasn't friendly. There are no lives worth saving among Velnari scum. They are enemies of all free peoples. You will release them to us for proper judgment. Katie felt her jaw clench. She looked down at the injured Velnari, who had started to wake up. The alien's eyes opened slowly, revealing irises that shifted color like oil on water. When those eyes focused on Katie's face, something passed between them that neither species had words for. Not happening, Katie said into the comm. These are our survivors now. What she didn't know was that 3 different alien cultures were listening to that transmission and all hearing something completely different from what Katie meant. Back on the stellar dawn, Dr. Amy Carter was trying to make sense of the cultural data streaming in from both alien fleets. She had always been good at understanding different species, but these two were giving her a headache. The Velnari seemed to operate on a complex honor system. Their transmissions were full of references to nobility, sacrifice, and protective duty. They talked about the weak needing shelter from the strong, about wisdom being more important than power. To them, Katie's actions looked like classic noble behavior, a strong warrior protecting helpless civilians because it was the right thing to do. The Zethkari were different. Their culture valued strength above everything else, but it was a specific kind of strength. They respected warriors who claimed territory, who fought for their pack, who showed dominance through action. To them, Katie wasn't being noble. She was claiming those Velnari as her own property, her personal prizes from the battle. Both interpretations were wrong, but Amy was starting to realize that might not matter. Communications Officer Megan Stone had been monitoring transmissions from both fleets, and what she was hearing made her nervous. "Captain," she called to Lisa Morgan, "both alien groups are talking about protecting us from each other. The Velnari want to guide us away from Zethkari corruption, and the Zethkari want to save us from Velnari manipulation." Lisa frowned. "That doesn't sound like protection. That sounds like two groups deciding what's best for us without asking our opinion." Amy looked up from her cultural analysis. "Captain, I think we might have a bigger problem. Neither of these species really understands human motivations. They're both trying to fit our behavior into their own cultural frameworks, and they're getting it completely wrong." "Wrong how?" "The Velnari think we're noble protectors like they try to be. The Zethkari think we're territorial predators like they are. Neither group is considering that we might be something entirely different." On the shuttle, Katie was discovering just how different humans could be. The injured Velnari had grabbed Katie's hand when she tried to stand up, and something about that touch made Katie feel fiercely protective in a way that surprised her. She found herself moving closer to both aliens, positioning herself between them and the shuttle's entrance almost without thinking about it. "What are your names?" Katie asked the conscious Velnari. "I am Lyra Eth, a scholar of ancient texts. This is my research partner Vexara." She gestured to the injured one, who was trying to sit up despite Lisa Chen's protests. Katie helped Vexara into a more comfortable position, noting how the alien leaned into her touch rather than pulling away. "Well, Lyra, Eth, and Vexara, you're safe now. Nobody's going to hurt you while you're with us." What Katie didn't realize was that those words, combined with her protective body language and the way she had claimed responsibility for them, had just triggered something very deep in both Velnari. In their culture, when someone of power took you under their protection, you belonged to them completely. It was an honor that came with absolute loyalty. Lyra Heth bowed her head formally. "We place ourselves in your care, Katie Brooks of the Humans. Our lives are yours to protect." Katie thought it was just a polite way of saying thank you. She had no idea she had just been adopted by two aliens who now considered her their pack leader, or that similar misunderstandings were happening on dozens of other levels throughout both fleets. The rescue shuttle docked with the Stellar Dawn, and Katie escorted her charges to the medical bay. Behind them, both alien fleets continued to move closer, each convinced they understood human nature perfectly. None of them had any idea what was really about to happen. Katie Brooks stood outside the medical bay doors, refusing to move even though her shift had ended 3 hours ago. Inside, Dr. Amy Carter was running medical scans on the two Velnari survivors, but Katie felt an overwhelming need to stay close. Every time someone else tried to enter the medical bay, she found herself stepping forward slightly as if to block their path. "Sergeant, you should get some rest," suggested Engineer Chloe Adams as she walked by. "Those aliens will be fine." Katie's response surprised both of them. "They're not just aliens anymore. They're under my protection." Chloe raised an eyebrow. "Your protection?" "Katie, they're guests on our ship, not your personal responsibility." But Katie couldn't explain the feeling that had settled in her chest like a warm, heavy weight. Every instinct she had was telling her that Lyra Eth and Vexara belonged to her now, that their safety was her job, that anyone who wanted to interact with them needed her permission first. Inside the medical bay, Amy Carter was discovering that alien biology was even stranger than she had expected. The Velnari were humanoid, but their internal structure was completely different. Instead of organs, they seemed to have crystalline formations that pulsed with soft light. Vexara's injury had cracked one of these formations, but it was slowly healing itself. Fascinating, Amy murmured as she watched the crystal repair itself. Your body structure is completely unique. Lyra Eth, who had been watching the proceedings with obvious anxiety, perked up. You study living beings? In my culture, we call such people keepers of the lifelight. It is a position of great honor. I suppose you could say that, Amy replied, adjusting her scanner settings. I want to understand how different species work, how they live, what makes them unique. What Amy didn't notice was how both Velnari relaxed at her words. In their culture, a keeper of the lifelight was someone who protected and nurtured other species. The fact that Katie had brought them to such a person confirmed that the human warrior truly intended to care for them properly. Vexara spoke for the first time since being rescued, her voice still weak but determined. We owe life debt to Katie. Brooks, in Velnari law, this makes us her bondkin until the debt is paid. Amy paused in her scanning. Bondkin? What does that mean exactly? We belong to her family group now, Lyra Eth explained simply. Her enemies are our enemies. Her goals are our goals. Her pack is our pack. Amy felt a chill run down her spine. And how exactly does one pay off a life debt? Usually through death in service, Vexara said matter-of-factly. But some debts cannot be repaid in a single lifetime. Outside in the corridor, Katie was having her own strange experiences. Every time a crew member walked past the medical bay, she found herself evaluating whether they posed a threat to her. Velnari. When Engineering Chief Pete Wilson stopped to ask about the alien's condition, Katie positioned herself between him and the door without even thinking about it. They're recovering, she said curtly. Why do you need to know? Pete looked confused. Just making conversation, Katie. Figured you'd be excited about first contact and all. Katie realized she was being unreasonable, but she couldn't shake the feeling that Pete's interest wasn't innocent curiosity. They've been through trauma. They need peace and quiet to heal. What Katie didn't understand was that her behavior was being observed and analyzed by crew members throughout the ship. Humans were social creatures with deeply ingrained pack instincts, but those instincts usually applied to other humans. Seeing Katie extend that protective behavior to aliens was triggering responses in the crew that nobody quite understood. Communications Officer Megan Stone had been monitoring alien transmissions all day, and she was starting to notice patterns that worried her. Captain, she called to Lisa Morgan, I'm picking up some strange chatter from both fleets. Strange how? The Velnari keep talking about proper integration protocols and acceptable bonding procedures. The Zethkari are discussing dominance displays and territorial marking behavior. Both groups seem very interested in how we're treating their people. Lisa frowned. Are they planning to demand their people back? That's just it, Captain. Neither group is talking about getting their people back. They're talking about us keeping them. It's like they expected this to happen. Dr. Amy Carter emerged from the medical bay with a puzzled expression. She had spent the last hour listening to Lyra Eth and Vexara explain Velnari culture, and what she had learned was disturbing. Captain, we need to talk, Amy said urgently. I think we've accidentally triggered some kind of cultural bonding ritual. Lisa looked around the corridor and noticed that Katie was still standing guard outside the medical bay, and that several other crew members had found excuses to linger nearby. Explain. The Velnari have a concept called life debt bonding. When someone saves their life, they become part of that person's family group permanently. They're not guests on our ship, Lisa. They think they're Katie's property now. That's ridiculous. Katie saved them from dying in space. That doesn't make them her slaves. Amy shook her head. Not slaves. Family. And that's the problem, because I think Katie is starting to see them the same way. As if to prove Amy's point, Katie suddenly tensed and stepped directly in front of the medical bay door. Who's that? She demanded, looking down the corridor. The approaching figure turned out to be Andra, the Velnari diplomat they had spoken with earlier. She had beamed over from her ship and was walking toward them with flowing robes and an expression of formal courtesy. I come to check on the welfare of my people, Andra announced in her musical voice. Katie's response was immediate and startling. Your people? They're under my protection now. You'll need to go through me if you want to see them. Andra stopped walking and studied Katie with new interest. Ah, I see. The bonding has already begun. How fascinating. Tell me, human Katie Brooks, do you understand what you have claimed? I haven't claimed anything, Katie replied, but her body language said otherwise. She was standing with her feet spread wide and her shoulders squared, looking like a guard, dog protecting her territory. Haven't you? Silandra smiled knowingly. You rescued them from death. You brought them to safety. You stand watch over their healing. You challenge anyone who approaches them. In any culture I know, these are the actions of a pack leader claiming new members. Lisa stepped forward. Now wait just a minute. Katie was following orders to rescue survivors. This isn't some primitive territorial behavior. Silandra turned her attention to Lisa with the same knowing smile. And yet your pack leader allows this territorial behavior to continue. Your other pack members gather nearby to support their pack sister. Your healer tends to the new members with care. Captain Lisa Morgan, your entire crew is exhibiting classic pack integration behaviors. Amy looked around and realized with horror that Silandra was right. Without anyone planning it or even noticing it, the human crew had begun treating the two Velnari as adopted family members. They had unconsciously arranged their duty shifts so someone was always near the medical bay. They had started referring to the aliens by name instead of calling them the survivors. Several crew members had already asked Amy what kind of food the Velnari preferred. This is insane, Lisa muttered. We're a professional military crew, not some pack of wild animals. Are you? Silandra asked gently. Because from where I stand, you look exactly like a family that has just adopted two orphaned children. And Lyraeth and Vexara are responding exactly as they should, by accepting their place in your pack structure and looking to Katie as their new pack leader. As if summoned by their names, both Velnari appeared in the medical bay doorway. They looked healthier now, standing close together but with their eyes fixed on Katie's face like dogs waiting for commands from their master. Katie Brooks, Lyraeth said formally. We request permission to explore our new home. Katie found herself nodding before she even thought about it. Stay on this deck. Don't go anywhere alone. If anyone bothers you, come find me immediately. The Velnari bowed in perfect unison and wandered off down the corridor, staying close to each other but moving with the confidence of creatures who knew they were protected. Lisa stared after them in amazement. What the hell just happened? Silandra laughed, a sound like silver bells. What happened, Captain, is that your species has just revealed its true nature, and now both the Velnari and the Zethkari will have to decide what to do about it. The conference room aboard the Stellar Dawn had never hosted anything like this before. Representatives from 3 different species sat around the table, and the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Captain Lisa Morgan sat at the head of the table, trying to look professional, while 2 Velnari and 1 Zethkari stared at each other with barely concealed hostility. Silandra had brought reinforcements. A male Velnari diplomat named Thelanos, who spoke perfect human English, and seemed to know far too much about human culture. The Zethkari delegation was led by war leader Krixtal himself, along with a smaller female warrior named Zaritha, who kept eyeing the Velnari like she was calculating how quickly she could kill them. But the most interesting part of the meeting was happening near the door, where Katie Brooks stood guard over Lyraeth and Vexara. The 2 Velnari had positioned themselves behind Katie's chair, close enough to touch her but ready to move if she gave them any signal. Katie seemed completely unaware that she was unconsciously monitoring every person in the room for potential threats to her aliens. Let us speak plainly, Krixtal rumbled, his yellow eyes fixed on Katie. You humans have claimed war prizes. This is acceptable behavior for a warrior species. But these particular prizes belong to a people we are at war with. This creates complications. Thelanos spoke up smoothly. War leader Krixtal misunderstands the situation. The humans have not claimed war prizes. They have extended noble protection to innocents in need. This places them firmly on the side of justice and peace. Nobody has claimed anybody, Lisa said firmly. We rescued survivors of an attack. That's what civilized people do. Zaritha laughed harshly. Civilized? Your warrior Katie Brooks marks territory around these Velnari like a predator guarding fresh kill. She challenges anyone who approaches them. She has claimed them as completely as any Zethkari warrior claims battle trophies. Dr. Amy Carter, who had been quietly observing the interactions, finally spoke up. Actually, you're all wrong about what's happening here. Everyone turned to look at her. Amy stood up and activated the room's display screen, showing brain scan data from both humans and aliens. I've been studying the neurological responses of everyone involved in this situation, Amy explained. The Velnari and Zethkari are both trying to understand human behavior through their own cultural frameworks, but humans aren't Velnari or Zethkari. We're something else entirely. She highlighted different areas of brain activity on the scans. When Katie rescued Lyra Eth and Vexara, it triggered a neurological response pattern that humans developed millions of years ago. It's the same pattern that activates when humans adopt orphaned animals, or when parents bond with children, or when people form deep friendships. Humans don't show mercy to strangers, and they don't claim war prizes. Humans adopt family members. Krixtal leaned forward, with interest. Explain this adoption process. Amy switched to a new display showing behavioral analysis. Humans have an almost unique ability among intelligent species to form pack bonds across genetic lines. We domesticated wolves by treating them like family members. We've adopted everything from dolphins to ravens to tigers as pack members. When a human decides you belong to their family, it doesn't matter what species you are or where you came from. You become part of their pack, and they will die to protect you. Silandra looked thoughtful. This explains much about human behavior that puzzled us. But surely this adoption can be reversed. If Lyra Eth and Vexara choose to return to Velnari space, as if responding to a cue, both Velnari moved closer to Katie. Lyra Eth spoke quietly but clearly. We do not wish to leave our pack leader. Katie Brooks has claimed us, and we have accepted her claim. This bond cannot be broken by distance or politics. Vexara nodded agreement. In Katie's pack, we are valued and protected. Why would we return to a people who sent us into danger and then abandoned us to die? Thelanos looked genuinely shocked. But you are Velnari. You belong with your own kind, do we? Lyrath asked. When Katie found us floating in space, were the Velnari coming to rescue us? When we needed medical care, did our own people provide it? When we were afraid and hurt, who comforted us? Katie found herself speaking without meaning to. They're not going anywhere. They're part of my crew now. Your crew? Lisa asked sharply. Katie looked confused for a moment, as if she had surprised herself. I mean, they're under our protection. Under my protection. Nobody gets to take them away or hurt them or use them for political games. Zaritha studied Katie with new respect. The human speaks like a true pack leader. She has claimed these creatures as her own, and she will fight to keep them. This I understand and approve. But that's exactly the problem, Amy said urgently. Both of your species are seeing this through your own cultural lens, but you're missing the real implications. Humans don't just adopt individuals. When humans adopt someone, that person becomes part of human civilization. They get human protection, human resources, human technology, and human loyalty. She pulled up star charts showing human space. Right now, there are 2 Velnari living aboard a human military vessel, eating human food, breathing human air, and learning human customs. In human culture, this makes them human citizens with full rights and protections. If anyone tries to harm them, they're not just attacking 2 aliens, they're attacking human family members. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Krixtal was the first to speak. You are saying that humans will go to war to protect adopted pack members, even if those members are not genetically human? Humans have gone to war to protect their pet dogs, Amy replied. What do you think they'll do to protect people they consider family? Silandra looked pale. This changes everything about our diplomatic calculations. We assumed humans would support us based on moral alignment or strategic advantage. But if humans adopt members of both our species, then humans will fight anyone who threatens their adopted family regardless of politics, Lisa finished, including both of your fleets if necessary. Thelanos turned to study Lyra Eth and Vexara with new eyes. You truly consider yourselves human now? Lyra Eth exchanged a look with Vexara before answering. We consider ourselves Katie's pack. If that makes us human, then yes, we are human now. Katie felt a strange warmth spread through her chest at those words. Without thinking about it, she reached out and placed a protective hand on each Velnari's shoulder. That's right. They're mine now. Anyone who wants to hurt them goes through me first. Zaratha laughed with genuine amusement. War leader Krixtal, I believe we have found a species worthy of respect. These humans do not show mercy or claim trophies. They steal hearts and adopt enemies as family. This is a more dangerous strategy than any weapon. Krixtal nodded slowly. Indeed. And if they can turn Velnari into loyal pack members, what might they do to Zethkari warriors who earn their adoption? Amy felt a chill as she realized what was happening. Both alien species were no longer seeing humans as potential allies or enemies. They were seeing humans as a force that could fundamentally change the nature of their conflict by adopting members of both sides and making them family. Captain, Amy said quietly, I think we need to contact Earth immediately. This situation is about to get much more complicated. Outside the conference room windows, both alien fleets hung in space like predators circling their prey. But now nobody was quite sure who was the predator and who was the prey. The attack came without warning. Katie Brooks was escorting Lyra Eth and Vexara to the observation deck when the ship's alarms started screaming. Red lights flashed throughout the corridors as Captain Lisa Morgan's voice echoed from every speaker. All. Hands to battle stations. We are under attack by unknown vessels. This is not a drill. Katie immediately pushed both Velnari against the nearest wall, shielding them with her body as the ship shuddered under weapons fire. Stay behind me, she ordered, her marine training taking over completely. Katie, Lyra Eth said urgently, those are Zethkari attack fighters, but they're not from Krixtal's main fleet. The markings identify them as extremist raiders. Vexara's eyes glowed brighter as she accessed some kind of internal sensing ability. 6 fighters closing fast. They're targeting the sections of the ship where we've been staying. Someone told them exactly where to find us. Katie felt cold fury wash through her. Someone was trying to hurt her people, her pack, her family. Over my dead body, she growled, activating her communicator. Captain, this is Sergeant Brooks. The attackers are targeting our Velnari. They're not trying to disable the ship, they're trying to kill specific people. Lisa's voice crackled back immediately. Understood, Sergeant. Get them to the secure section and keep them safe. Katie started moving toward the ship's armored core, but the Velnari surprised her by grabbing her arms. No, Lyra Eth said firmly. We will not hide while our pack is in danger. If someone is attacking our family, we fight beside our family. You're civilians, Katie protested. You don't have weapons or training. Vexara smiled, and for the first time Katie saw something predatory in the expression. You forget, Katie Brooks, that Velnari survived a 1,000-year war with the Zethkari. We are not as helpless as we appear. Before Katie could respond, the ship shook again, and the lights went out. Emergency power kicked in a moment later, bathing everything in red light. Down the corridor, Katie could hear the sound of metal being cut by energy weapons. They're boarding us, she said grimly, drawing her sidearm. Stay close and do exactly what I tell you. The first Zethkari boarder came around the corner like a nightmare made real. It was larger than Krixtal, with battle scars covering its dark green scales and weapons grafted directly onto its arms. When it saw the Velnari, its yellow eyes lit up with savage joy. Found them, it hissed into its communicator. The corrupted ones who have betrayed their own species by joining the humans. Katie put 3 rounds center mass before the creature could finish speaking. The Zethkari staggered but didn't go down, its natural armor absorbing most of the impact. Katie cursed and prepared to fire again when something impossible happened. Lyra Eth stepped out from behind Katie and raised her hand. Light poured from her palm, not the soft glow Katie had seen before, but brilliant white energy that hit the Zethkari like a physical blow. The creature screamed and collapsed, its nervous system overloaded by whatever the Velnari had just done to it. Impressive, said a new voice from behind them. Katie spun around to find Vexara standing over 2 more unconscious Zethkari boarders. But we should move. More are coming. Katie stared at both aliens with new eyes. What the hell are you, two? We are scholars, Lyra Eth said simply. But we are also survivors of a war that has lasted longer than human civilization has existed. Did you think we stayed alive this long by being defenseless? They moved through the ship corridors like a perfectly coordinated unit. Katie provided firepower and tactical direction, while the two Velnari used abilities Katie hadn't known they possessed. Lyra Eth could overload electronics and nervous systems with directed energy, while Vexara seemed capable of moving through shadows and striking from impossible angles. But what really amazed Katie was how naturally they worked together. The Velnari anticipated her movements, covered her blind spots, and followed her lead without question. It was like fighting alongside Marines she had trained with for years, except better because they seemed to know what she was thinking before she thought it. They reached the ship's main corridor to find the rest of Katie's Marine squad already, engaged in fierce combat with a larger force of Zethkari boarders. The aliens had superior numbers and better personal armor, but the humans were fighting with a fury that seemed to surprise their attackers. "Sergeant Brooks," called Corporal Amy Davis as she ducked behind cover, "these bastards keep asking about your aliens. They want to capture them alive." Katie felt something primal and dangerous unfold in her chest. These creatures had come onto her ship, threatened her crew, and were trying to take her family. Every protective instinct she possessed was screaming for blood. "Like hell they will," Katie snarled, and charged into the fight with Lyra Eth and Vexara right beside her. What happened next would be talked about in both human and alien military circles for decades to come. Katie Brooks, a human Marine sergeant, led two alien scholars in a counterattack that broke a professional Zethkari raiding force in less than 10 minutes. But it wasn't just the tactical brilliance or the unexpected alien abilities that made the fight legendary. It was the way they fought for each other. When a Zethkari warrior got past Katie's guard, Lyra Eth threw herself between them without hesitation, taking a blast that should have killed her to protect her pack leader. When Vexara was surrounded and outnumbered, Katie went through 3 armed opponents like they were made of paper, her only thought being to reach her family member before she was hurt. The human Marines, seeing their sergeant's adoptees fighting and bleeding alongside them, responded with a level of protective fury that shocked even themselves. These weren't just alien allies anymore. These were Katie's people, which made them everyone's people, which made them worth dying for. The battle ended when Captain Lisa Morgan arrived with ship security and found the corridor littered with unconscious Zethkari raiders. Katie was sitting against a wall with both Velnari pressed against her sides, all 3 of them wounded but alive. The look in Katie's eyes as she watched over her injured family members was something Lisa had never seen before. Primal, protective, and absolutely uncompromising. "Sergeant," Lisa said carefully, "are you all right?" Katie looked up at her captain with eyes that held no trace of the professional soldier Lisa knew. "They tried to take my family," Katie said simply. "Nobody takes my family." Dr. Amy Carter arrived with medical equipment and found herself treating humans and aliens with equal urgency, because to everyone present, there was no difference anymore. They were all crew. They were all family. Later, as the ship medics worked, on the wounded and the captured raiders were secured, Silandra's voice came over the communication system. "Human vessel Stellar Dawn, this is Velnari diplomatic ship Moonwhisper. We have monitored the attack and its resolution. We request permission to speak with your leadership." When the call was patched through to the bridge, Silandra's image appeared on screen looking deeply shaken. "Captain Morgan, we owe you an apology. The attackers were Zethkari extremists who believed that any Velnari who accepted human protection had been corrupted and needed to be purified. We did not anticipate such fanaticism." Lisa felt her temper rise. "So you knew this might happen and didn't warn us?" "We did not believe they would be foolish enough to attack a human military vessel," Silandra admitted. "We underestimated how seriously humans take threats to their adopted family members." A new voice broke into the transmission. War leader Krixtal from the Zethkari flagship. "Silandra speaks truth, but incompletely. The raiders acted without approval from the main fleet. Their leader, Vorthok the Purifier, believed that showing mercy to corrupted Velnari was a sign of human weakness that needed to be tested." "And what does he believe now?" Lisa asked coldly. Krixtal's laugh was deeply satisfied. "Vorthok is now convinced that humans are the most dangerous species in known space. He has requested permission to be adopted into your crew as well." Amy Carter, monitoring the conversation from her position treating wounded, felt pieces clicking together in her mind. Captain, I think I understand what's really happening here. Both species have been testing us, trying to figure out what kind of people humans really are. Today we gave them their answer, which is that humans don't show mercy, and they don't take prisoners, and they don't make alliances based on politics or profit, Amy said quietly. Humans adopt family members and then become willing to die for them. Both the Velnari and the Zethkari now know that if they join human families, they get human protection. Complete, absolute, uncompromising human protection. On the communication screen, both Silandra and Crixtal were nodding slowly. Dr. Carter speaks wisdom, Silandra said. This changes the nature of our conflict. If both Velnari and Zethkari can find homes in human families, perhaps there is a path to peace that neither of our species could find alone. Crixtal's image leaned forward. In the medical bay, Katie sat between Lyra Eth and Vexara, watching over their recovery with the patience of a mother guarding sleeping children. She didn't care about the political implications or the diplomatic possibilities. She only cared that her family was safe. But around her, the universe was changing. Word of the human reach.